Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is HowFast. Now on this channel, you know that I like to do our LS build, which is the majority of the content. There's also how-tos, which are on, Hildy, the BMW, Judy, our 3500 GMC, and also we do from time to time, I do some kids stuff. So a couple of months ago, probably actually a lot earlier this year, we had talked about a go-kart for my son Hudson. Now, if you're interested, a lot of you guys have kids, or you're around my age, you have young kids, or you maybe a little older and you have grandkids, and you want to know how to make their power wheels a little bit faster, because let's be honest, they kind of come, when they're young, it's a good speed, but as they get a little bit older, you want these things to move a little faster. I got something on the channel here. I'll put a card for that right here, and you can find out how to make these things move a little faster. But once they get out and outgrow these, you want to go for something a little more grunt. So I have this little go-kart that HowFast Pippi picked up for Hudson. Lots of parts, partially assembled. I've got, I think, 95% of what I need here to kind of start putting this thing together and getting it to a point where it's going to move. I'm doubtful about the gear that I have for the back axle, but this is going to be kind of a learning process for myself as well. I've never tinkered with one of these, but it seems pretty simple. So if you guys are interested and you have a child who wants to drive one of these, and maybe you want to do it and you know a little bit about engines, small engines and tinkering and stuff, I think you can probably get through working on one of these. They're pretty straightforward. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of confidence to just jump in there and give it a shot. And if there's ever any questions or anything, YouTube is like a really great reference for how to figure stuff out. So I'm going to start kind of diving into this thing right now, and we're going to talk about what needs to happen to make this chassis movable now. So when I first got this go-kart given to us from my dad, we noticed that this rear piece of steel has got kind of a bit of a bow in it, and I don't think that's really that big of a deal, because it's not like this thing is some sort of performance vehicle, nor do I think it's going to be going that fast. This seems to be the best place to mount the engine, and it looks like there's going to have to be a portion of this plating cut out to allow the chain to reach down to where the axle needs to run. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to mock up the engine about where we think it should be, and then we are going to slide the axles into some bearings that I picked up, and we're going to try and figure out exactly where everything wants to be in relation to itself. We'll mark that all down, and then we'll assemble everything and wire everything, and at that point it really shouldn't be much more than a couple cables and a couple cables and the seat. We got a seat over here, and even a small little like fairing for the front that, if I want to add that, we can add that later. So I'm going to start mocking this up. Alright, first things first. So this engine is, it's a great little engine, almost brand new. I don't want to say brand new, but really good shape, runs great. It's clutch, already comes with a clutch on it. So we just need to assemble the clutch. That's just going to be as easy as sliding this plate over here. It's a snap ring. If you got a pair of snap ring pliers, they're worth their weight in gold if you got them. So snap ring on, a couple washers, bolt, done. Next we have these bearings I picked up. I hope they're right. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing here. So, but you can see the axle. What's interesting about this is the bearing inside here. It's thin wall here, thick here, so it's not centered, right? And I believe that is taken up in this ring. So it's like a retaining ring, and you offset those so that it actually is centered. That'll allow you to clamp down on it. So I'm going to plop these into the chassis, and then we're going to try and slide the axle through, and then hopefully we'll be in luck and we can find the spot where we need to actually lock these down onto the axle. So I have the axle and bearings in now, and I think it's going to be as simple as sliding these retainers over and then locking them down. And then I have the gear here, which needs to get locked down as well, but we're gonna wait on that one until we cut out this piece here and mount our engine and just make sure where everything actually needs to be. Then we'll lock that gear down, and then we'll run the chain to that. But first, we're gonna measure off the axles off the frame and get a rough estimate of where center is. That's eyeballed, but I'll pull a measurement right now, and then we'll lock those bearings down. Okay, so let's talk about the gearing situation here. The gear that I've purchased is this tiny little thing. Gosh, it's probably 1.5 inches in diameter. It's tiny. And you'd be surprised. Pretty hard to find a gear in this tooth in that size that I need. The problem I had with this is I have these. Now, these are what you'd find on like a typical shift cart, like these much faster go-karts, but they have like a ring that holds it onto the axle, and I don't have that piece. And this is just because these gears fly, and Hudson is not ready for that kind of speed. Even if I turn the throttle down way on this thing, I still think it'd be too fast. As you know, gear like ratio, wheel speed is all relative to the, you know, your RPM, your gear. There's a lot of things to consider here. My thought was start something small and work him up to eventually getting to this. So I've got this tiny gear. The only thing I worry about is I think a 3-inch gear would probably be nice, but this thing is tiny. I don't know if this thing is going to even have enough torque to get the wheels turning. So it's questionable how this thing is going to feel off the bat. So this is version 1, you know, beta. This is beta, and we'll see how it does, and if the gear needs to be changed, no big deal. I can go up a size, and I actually may consider using these ones. But for now, I'm going to lay that chain over there. We're going to cut the chain, put the master link in, and then we should have this thing just about ready to hook up the throttle cables, put the wheels on, and test fire and see how it works. Puts in work. So if you're unfamiliar with Master Link, basically what we have here is a clip that will lock your two pieces together, and then like a retaining clip. So it's like an extra link with a retaining clip. So what that looks like is you pull your master link apart. There's 3 parts there. Slide this end in, that end in here, the other side, and your clip. Those will lock it together. There we go. There she goes. Gotcha. Okay. A little slack in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw a couple washers underneath the motor here to shim it up, take up some of this slack. Engine's on. Everything's still kind of loose. I still have to tighten everything down. Chain's on. Just got to lock down the bearings, the axle gear, the motor mount nuts. But right now I'm wiring up, or I'm getting hooked up the throttle cable. So this needs to run up. And you can see here's the throttle. So when we step on the throttle here, this cable will pull in and out. So when I step on the throttle, it pulls, which means we have to grab onto this little hole here. So when we step on it, it'll pull this way. There's already a bracket in here that I think HowFast Pippi put in. I'm not sure how he had it hooked up originally, but I think if I bend this at a 90 right here, it should work really well. We're going to find out right now. Hang on. Alright, so I put a 90 in this here, and right now it's down, no throttle, full throttle, no throttle, full throttle. So it's working really well. The cable here seems to run right where the tire, this is the brake, so I'm going to have to zip tie this piece up away, but other than that, throttle is connected. Okay, so last step is putting the tires on. Now, these axles have a keyway in them. I've purchased a set of keys here, but even the closest they have is not perfect. So what I did is I went and cut down a couple little chunks off of an old hinge I had laying around, and some gentle tapping and some persuasion. I managed to get those there in, locked nice and tight in there, and I'll throw the castle nut on there, and these wheels will be on. Well, here it is outside. I have it running, and actually it moves under its own power. Unfortunately, I just pulled on the cord and ripped the recoil. Awesome. So I'm gonna have to get a new recoil for it, try and get it before next weekend, before Hudson gets back over here, and then hopefully he can take it for a rip and we can see if it actually has enough torque to move him around. So guess that's gonna be it. Okay, well, kind of a bummer. You know, unfortunately the recoil broke. That happens. My goal was to get 95% complete today. Mission accomplished. So we'll get back to this hopefully next week. Like I said, before Hudson gets back, I'll get that recoil on. We can let him take it for a little test drive and see exactly how fast this thing gets going. I wanted to remind you guys, if you haven't got some of the HowFast swag, you can get that at howfast.ca, or you can get a hold of me at howfast10@gmail.com. You can get me on Instagram, how__fast, or you can get me HowFast on Facebook, and more recently, we're now on TikTok. So if you're looking for us, you can find me at HowFast1 on TikTok. So I'll catch up with you guys next time, find out how fast we can make this car go.